welcome to Seoul, the glittering capital of Korea. Now this is my first time here, and over the coming 48 hours I'm going to show you some of the highlights of this massive city. So let's go. Good morning and welcome back to another city tour. Today I'm going to show you some of the best places to visit in Seoul, and as I mentioned in the intro, I am on a rather tight schedule. 48 hours is certainly not enough to visit Seoul, but it will give you a glimpse of what the Korean capital has got to offer. And I'm going to try to pack as much as possible into those 2 days. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first location that we're gonna cover is the canal, the name of which I absolutely cannot pronounce. Located right in the heart of the city, it is a man-made canal that was completed in 2005. Today, it runs for almost 11 kilometers through the center of Seoul, and it is the perfect spot for a relaxing walk. I love the integration of greenery into urban spaces and also the sheer tranquility of this canal. Unfortunately, I wasn't very lucky when it comes to the weather. So as you can see, the weather is really terrible today, and I am hoping that it will improve, because I do want to see some nature-related places as well. But yeah, we'll find out later. The next spot on our itinerary is Gwangjang, an indoor market with traditional food stalls that attract both locals and tourists. Prices are reasonable, and you can sample a wide variety of local specialties here. So you got plenty of food choices here, and also sweet stuff, and then you sit here on these little tables. So much choice here, I really can't decide what I'm gonna go for. I ended up choosing a noodle soup with fish dumplings, seaweed, and of course kimchi. It was delicious and only cost 7,000 won. After the market, I went to check out one of Seoul's most futuristic landmarks, Dongdaemun Design Plaza, or DDP. Inaugurated in 2014, this eye-catching structure was designed by world-renowned British-Iraqi architect Zaha Hadid. Today, it is a multi-purpose complex with parks, museums, retail spaces, and coffee shops. DDP is also home to a history museum incorporating the restored 14th century city wall, which was part of a medieval fortress. There was also a massive stadium on this site, but it was demolished in 2008 to make way for the DDP project. The museum is free to visit and explains the history of the stadium, its location, and the impressive architecture of Dongdaemun Design Plaza. To get to the next location, I took the metro at DDP. Seoul has a fantastic subway network that covers the entire city. Buying a ticket is simple. You insert 2,000 won into this machine and get a single journey ticket. There is a 500 won deposit on the ticket, which you'll get back once you return it. If you don't want to use cash, you can also buy a rechargeable card. I rode just 2 stops and got out in Myeongdong. I will cover this bustling neighborhood later as I'll visit another location first. So I just walked up a pretty steep hill here, and what I'm gonna do now is take the cable car to Namsam Mountain Park, which is one of the best viewpoints here in Seoul. The cable car is a 15-minute walk from Myeongdong station, and a return ticket will set you back 15,000 won. Unfortunately, the weather conditions weren't ideal on this grey August afternoon, and when I arrived at the top, it wasn't much better. Namsam Mountain is a charming hiking area where people gather to soak in the views. It is also home to Namsam Tower, which you can ascend for an extra fee. Apart from the tower, there are plenty of eating, drinking, and shopping opportunities. This is undoubtedly a great place to escape the hustle and bustle of Seoul, but as I previously mentioned, it wasn't really worth coming up here due to the low visibility. On a clear day, you can expect views like this. To end our first day in the Korean megacity, let me show you my accommodation. Hotels and Airbnbs are very expensive in Seoul, and due to my hectic schedule, I decided to save some money and stay at a capsule hostel. The place is called Seoul Cube, and it is a clean and functional hostel with capsule-style dorms. The privacy and soundproofing were good, and the location was excellent, right next to the canal. Better still, it was only 24 euros per night.
Good morning, guys. It is now day 2 here in Seoul, Korea, and today we're gonna go see some historic and cultural places. So, let's go.
The first location that we're gonna visit today is Gyeongbokgung Palace. Sorry for probably butchering that name, the main royal residence of the Joseon dynasty. The Joseon Kingdom ruled Korea for over 500 years between 1392 and 1897. Gyeongbokgung is the largest of the 5 palaces that the Joseon dynasty built in Seoul. Completed in the late 14th century, it served as the main seat of government and royal residence until a fire completely destroyed the complex in the 16th century. The palace lay abandoned for 200 years until it was fully restored in the 19th century. Unfortunately, it was then heavily damaged in World War II before finally becoming a cultural property in the 1960s. Today, the palace has regained its former glory, and apart from the main halls, you can visit various museums here. After my visit to the palace, it was time to check out some of the best museums in Seoul. Here is a list of museums that are undoubtedly worth a visit. As I was short on time, I decided to focus on smaller, a bit lesser known museums, the first one being the Museum of Contemporary Korean History. Situated right next to Gyeongbokgung Palace, this museum explains the history of South Korea in an interactive and simple manner. There are plenty of historical episodes, but also modern consumer items, industrial heritage, and major cultural elements such as K-pop and movies. And finally, this museum also has a rooftop terrace offering stunning views over the enormous palace.
Right, I just got out of the metro at a station called Hangangjin, and yeah, this area looks pretty hip and young with a lot of designer stores, and there are quite a few museums here, one of which I'm going to visit now.
Our next attraction is one of the city's coolest but also lesser known art museums. The Leeum Museum of Art is run by the Samsung Foundation of Culture, and various exhibitions are free to visit. The most interesting aspect is that the museum displays both historic and modern art. As such, you can admire traditional Korean stoneware, ceramics, Buddhist art, as well as plenty of modern installations, including the so-called gravity stairs, which were designed by Danish-Icelandic artist Olafur Eliasson. I spent about 1.5 hours inside the Leeum, and it was definitely worth the detour. We are ending our second day in Seoul in the bustling neighborhood of Myeongdong, one of the most recognizable areas in the Korean capital. Myeongdong is brimming with flashing lights, shops, street food, bars, restaurants, and coffee shops. The place really comes alive at night and is the ideal location to soak in the unique atmosphere of Seoul. For dinner, I went to a place called Myeongdong Gyeoja, a local institution that has been featured in countless Michelin guides. They only serve 4 dishes, all of which are made in-house. I went for some dumplings and a cold, spicy plate of noodles, which was hard to describe, but very flavorful and absolutely delicious. And that is it for today. I'll definitely be back, as there is so much more to see here. 48 hours isn't enough, but I hope that you enjoyed getting a little taste of what this fascinating city has got to offer. Thanks very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.